basic stuff, what a cloud storage UI like Dropbox would offer. But the thing is, we're going to build that in pure Ruby. And so we're going to build a lot of reactivity on our UI without writing any JavaScript, just with writing pure Ruby. And that's what matestack wants to accomplish. So we start, so on the left-hand side, you see my browser, on the right-hand side, you see my editor. And I've set it up a Rails 6 app with Webpacker. I've installed our gem, matestack-ui-core. I've created some like these two models. So I've called it a data item model. Has one attached file. That's going to be that image. So this is, so I'm using active storage for that. A data item has many comments and it has a name, which will be validated. So that's pretty much it. And yeah, so I've prepared some controllers just because we don't have too much time and we want to cover a lot of details within the next 30 minutes. So let's start with C on the left-hand side, some output. So we're on the basic routing here. So let's have a look at that. So just some resources routes, nothing special here. And we are on our data items index. So, but we see cloud storage demo and we see hello. So where does that come from? So if we look at the controller, we see that's a basic Rails controller, and we see something like matestack app referencing a Ruby class, and the index rendering kind of a Ruby class. And these two things are matestack classes. We're going to see them in a bit. But it's important to realize we're not touching controller or models or routing. We're just adding a new UI layer on top. And yeah, so a matestack app is something like a Rails layout. That's why it's defined here on controller level. And a matestack page here is something like a Rails view. So we're telling the action to render a matestack page rather than a Rails view. And yeah, just because it's a kind of a layout and kind of a view, this app is going to yield this page, and we see how that looks like now. So we should have a look at the app. So we go, we have in our app directory, it's already created that matestack folder, and I just came up with that folder structure that I want to have the matestack app called data item manager, whatever. And every matestack app needs its app definition, or in this case, that's layout actually. So we see the data item manager app, it's inheriting from matestack UI app. And now we see a response. And this response is a core element of matestack apps, pages, and components. So the trick is here is that the class is using some Ruby methods in order to define its user interface. And these Ruby methods are, like, as you can see, they're actually representing HTML tags. So we call these components core components. And a lot of our core components are just meant to represent HTML tags or render HTML tags at the end. But you can write pure Ruby in order to use them, and that gives you a lot of power in the long run. But we have some more advanced components as well. But as we have a look here, we see a container. So we're using Bootstrap for basic styling and some heading. So that's what's here. And now we have a yield page. So as I said, the app is going to yield, kind of wrapping a page. So we should have a look at the page, and that's going to be the index page, because we told the controller to render the index page. So that's another Ruby class defined in the matestack folder. In a folder structure, you decide how that should look like, and there we have our index page. So now we're inheriting from matestack UI page. And we have, again, a response method here using these core components to render like a basic bootstrap layout. And now we see that hello, and that's the one we see over here, just updating a little bit. And we re-render here. There you go. I'm just gonna, I hope it's big enough. If it's not big enough, just let me know. Okay, so this is basic mate stack here. So we've written pure Ruby in order to define our basic layout. So we didn't see any reactivity, but we're gonna see reactivity in a bit. Okay, I've told you we want to upload files. It's a cloud storage. It's kind of a Dropbox. So we need a form for that. And I've prepared some forms. We're gonna see step by step how they are working. So the thing is, it's pure Ruby. I'm just calling another method, upload form method, in order to clean up my implementation. I don't want to put everything here and go nest everything. So yeah, the upload form partial method helps me to clean up my implementation. And within that upload form partial, I'm using a form core component. And that's the first dynamic kind of reactive component. We're going to see how that works in a bit. And we're telling the form, so we pass in a configuration, and that's happening in a Ruby hash. And in order to not write that Ruby hash up here, I'm just created another Ruby method here, just returning a hash. So we're telling the form, use a multi-part configuration because we're going to upload a file. But the rest is kind of familiar, the same as on a Rails form, telling the form, we need that form for this object, the new instance of data item. We're going to post data towards the data items path, so Rails routing should be familiar. And we're telling the form to emit an event when succeeded. We're going to see in a bit what that means. So we're collecting data here with a form input child component. And so we are referencing the attached file attribute of that instance. And we're telling the form that it's going to be a file upload, just using type file. And we need a form submit button to submit that form. Okay, so let's re-render. So I have to save that here and re-render. Okay, so we see that's just a native HTML file upload. Not looking too good, but within this demo, I'm not going to style that file upload. So down here we see our upload button. Okay, but we would. Yeah, well, let's upload something. And I've told you we're gonna upload some cute data, and like a cute puppy probably. So we upload that. Oops, first I told you it's gonna be Rails controller targeting here. So I need the create action because I'm uploading something, and I need my just my strong params here, permitting attached file name of the data item, and just creating data item and using active storage functionality to attach the file. And if everything works well, I'm just gonna render an empty JSON and a positive status code. So that's the setup on the controller side. Save that. And now if I upload, there you go. The form reset it itself, but we don't see any upload data. That's because we didn't create any UI for listing the uploaded data. So we should do that now. Go back to our index. Just below that form, I'm gonna use another partial. And let's see, I'm gonna activate, we're gonna go through that step by step. Just because I wanted to have some starting in place. Okay, so let's see just if everything works. Okay, so I already updated uploaded a puppy before. But anyway, okay, so what do we see here? So data items list partial. And this data items is iterating over all data items and just using another helper method to define a row and to have some columns here, just that image, it's coming from that image here, for example, and some metadata, so the name, updated, and some action buttons. I'm going to see what they do in a bit. Okay, so the thing is, you probably already saw something like async. So we should see what's happening before I explain what's happening exactly. So I'm going to upload one sweet puppy again. There you go. I clicked upload, and the list, as you might have seen, was immediately updated. And that's done without any full page reload. So this async here was told to re-render only that part of the UI in case the form is emitting an event. So we told the form, which we are using up here, that it should emit an event. In this case, we called it uploaded. And we told the async to re-render if that event was received. And that's how this thing is working here. So we're just uploading one time again. So, and there you go, the list re-rendered itself without a full browser page reload. So that's a reactive list. And we saw like the form component interacting with the async component in order to get that reactivity without any JavaScript involved. And that's already pretty cool. Yeah, so the thing is, we probably want to have that reactivity as well if we click on the delete button. So let's have a look how the delete button is implemented. So again, this is the row we see here, some columns, and there we go. So we have two buttons. This is just a link triggering the download. If I click that, I'm going to get a download because it's just a download link, nothing special. And this one is the action. The action is kind of something like a form. So an action needs a configuration, and it's it's also a hash coming from that helper method. So we decide like which path should be used with method, and that it should emit an event as well. So we are targeting a Rails controller through typical Rails routing. So we gonna activate that action, the destroy action, and if that went well, we just responded with a positive status code. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We configured the action to like take some to ask for confirmation before deleting. And let's see how that looks like. Just gonna click on delete. So I'm gonna get that confirmation, just a native browser thing. Click OK. And then this data item was deleted, and the list re-rendered itself again without a full browser page reload. It was done asynchronously with background HTTP requests performed by the async component itself. Yeah, so we saw like uploading and a reactive list, and we saw delete with a reactive list, and all of that was implemented without any JavaScript. I'm going to say that quite often, just to emphasize that, because that's what Matestack is about. Yeah, I'm just using here some Rails helpers, nothing too fancy, it's just active storage. So some code, but I just wanted to have like at least a little bit of a UI here. So yeah, I'm gonna upload or just push that to a Git repository and make that available for all of you, so you can have a look afterwards to see the details of that implementation. Okay, so that's our index page. But we want to see more of that image actually, and we want to maybe be able to rename that weird file name. And that's gonna happen within the show page. And so let's have a look. The thing is, we want to navigate to that show page when clicking on that image. I just decided that because if you look closely here, that is that image rendered here. And I'm using something like a transition component. And transition component will try to navigate to a desired page, which is defined using Rails routing here. And yeah, and that should be done without a full browser page reload as well. So we want to be able to click on that image and to make a transition to the desired page without a full browser page reload. But to do that, we have to implement that show page first of all. So again, back to the controller, gonna activate my show action, now rendering a second matestack page. Gonna save that. And well, I've prepared that already because I don't have that much time. Now we have our show page here, and we're resolving the data using the params coming from the route. And let's see, just one test. Hello. So let's see if this is working. There you go. So I clicked on the image, which was wrapped with the transition component, and we've performed a dynamic page transition. So the layout was untouched. The transition actually told the app that it should perform a transition. So clicking that triggered an asynchronous HTTP request fetching the page content of that page here without manipulating any other DOM parts. It was just that section what was updated. So that's all I have to say to the transition, but that's pretty cool because that's kind of a classic single page application behavior, having like dynamic page transitions. And we have that without any JavaScript implementation, and yeah, without even have to think about it, just transition and the second page, and that's it. Okay, so let's have some, first of all, I want to get rid of that again. And I want to see, I'm starting with the body section because the heading section has some advanced implementation in it. So I'm just gonna, so the body section partial, that's defined here. It's gonna be a row. Gonna render the image. The cropped image is defined here. So now we have a bigger version of that image. Gonna leave the comments out. So meta infos. The meta infos are going to be just some meta info rendering with a small and paragraph core components, nothing special here. And the actions, well, let's leave them out. So it should be pretty, so that's everything we need until now. Okay, I've saved that file and let's see if I've done it correctly. There you go. Okay, well, we have our puppy here, and we have our meta infos here, and this side by side because we decided to have like call 6. So now we want like a classic feature of a cloud storage UI is probably like commenting on uploaded data. So we want to have that functionality here. And therefore, I'm gonna use the comment section partial. Like the implementation is completely up to you. I just came up with that structuring. And there you go. So the comment section is defined down here. And Yeah, so the comment section is again a row and telling comments, and then we have used a comments list partial. So if we are iterating over some comments here, so there you go. So data item comments each, and we're rendering some UI for each comment. And you see again a sync, so you might already know what's going to happen with that list. And yeah, we just need the comment form actually to be able to paste in some data or like submit some data. So the comments form again is a row, and now we see that form again, and we have that form configuration again. It's a comment new. Now it's a different path targeting the comments controller, create action, same principle as seen before. And so that's it, what we need for comments, I think. Let's see, I rewrote the page. There you go. So yeah, cute, puppy, whatever. Just press enter and there you go. The list re-rendered itself because the form told this form here was like emitting the comment created, and the sync was told to re-render in comment created, and the data items list was re-rendered. Whatever you can imagine here, if we have logged in users and they're talking about this puppy, whatever, it's just an example. So I think you know what I mean. So again, some pretty nice reactivity, and yeah, we just wrote pure Ruby to get that. Okay, so I just skipped that actually, but let's get that back. So we have this action we saw before. Let's just, I'm gonna show it to you, re-render. Oops, I didn't save that. 1 second. Okay, so we get our 2 buttons back. So this is the link we see here, just the download link again and the action button again. But we don't want to delete this image for now. It's too cute. Well, anyway, so we have now one more advanced topic to cover. And that's because we wanted to be able to edit the name of that file we saw on our list, because that was like a weird name. We wanted to edit that. And of course, you could just create a form like seen below here. But we want to do it in a bit more fancier way. So I've created a small inline editing here, just using the core components of a matestack-ui-core. And therefore, I'm gonna activate this prepared thing. So we're gonna add, like above our body section, we're gonna add a heading section. It's again just a row. And we're gonna have a look how that looks like. Okay, so now we see the back transition on that thing. So we know what a transition is doing. It's navigating back, and we're coming back to the show again. So we know what that is. And now I have something special here, because that's data item inline edit, and we don't find that implementation somewhere on our Ruby class. And well, you saw div and transition and small. These are all core components, but I don't know if I've told you, but you can create custom components as well. If you don't want to use div and these components, but want to create your own components, you can do that. And I'm going to showcase that on an advanced functionality here. So I've created a custom component, which I want to use with that method. And in order to use custom components, you have to register them. So we're going to have a look at our components registry. And all we have to do is just to define what method name we want to use. It's totally up to you. And we are referencing a Ruby class. And this is then our component implementation. So we're going to have a look at data item inline edit. So the component is defined here. Now it's inheriting from matestack-ui component, but it's the same principle. We have a response method there, and we're using core components in order to create that UI. So same principle as seen on pages and component apps. We have just more options here. But first of all, before I'm going to show you what that does, let's see. Oops, that's already. Inline editing means if I click on that and I don't maybe come up with a good name for that puppy. I don't know if I see the chat. I don't know. I'm not too creative. Where's the chat? I need a name for that puppy here. Okay, Toby, maybe you can tell me a good name for that puppy. Or not. Okay. Well, I just call it Fluffy, Fluff, whatever. Oops, I forgot to, I need the update action for that. Sorry for that. So because we're targeting that update action, so now it should work. There you go. So I click on that and gonna save that, and we have inline editing without full browser page reload and without any JavaScript involved. And we've implemented that in our custom component. And that's really kind of an advanced topic, but we're using our toggle components, which are able to toggle parts of the UI based on events. And we're using an on-click component, which emits an event. And this component is like configured. So if we go back to show, we use that component and pass in some configuration and a block. And that block is that what we see actually here, just a heading. And the structure here, I don't want to cover that in too much detail, is just able to, with pure core components, if we click on it, an event is emitted, the UI is toggled with our toggle components. There's a form in place. We already saw how a form is working, and I'm able to submit that form, and the async is taking care of re-rendering that part of the UI after I submitted the form. So we see our new name in place. So that's kind of an advanced structure. And because it was advanced, I didn't want to have it in my page. And that was a good use case to use the custom component, because that was a kind of custom behavior. And I've just created a custom component for it to have a clean UI implementation. Okay, so I have one last thing. And well, a Dropbox UI would probably sync its clients. So we have one client here, and I'm just going to create another client here, and I'm just going to duplicate them. And well, I upload that puppy again, probably. There you go. So we see that was just for that client, because we emitted events only on the client side. But we want to sync other clients as well if we upload something. So that's pretty easy, and that's the last thing I'm going to show you. Therefore, we just need to use action cable. I'm prepared that already here. That's pretty straightforward. Action cable integration, emitting events, like passing events from the subscription to the matestack event hub. And we already talked a lot about the event hub when we talked about emitting events and stuff. So that's in place here. So we'd only need the server implementation to broadcast these events. So for example, on the create action, I want to broadcast an event so that all clients gets updated if I upload something. And therefore, I just put it down here. This is the action cable API broadcasting just a message on that channel. And there you go. If I'm using a broadcast and I'm telling it whatever data items changed, just what I want to do here. And I'm going to do the same on destroy. And the only thing I have to do now on that async, so this, we already covered that. Where's my async? So the data items list, and there's the async, and these are where the client-side events triggered the re-rendering. And now I'm just going to add the data items update. What was it? I totally forgot it. 1 second. Data items changed, coming from the server via action cable. Save that, reload that client, and reloading the other client. Well, that was just a reload. So we have that's in sync for now. And now let's add that puppy as well. And then uploading it, and now look closely on both clients and hope everything is gonna work out well. If I upload that, there you go. So that one was updated, and the other one was updated as well, because we pushed that event using action cable, and we only had to tell the async that to react on that server-side event, and async actually doesn't care if it's a client or server-side event, as you can see here. So that's it. We created a small Dropbox UI clone, so the basic functionalities of a cloud storage. We created a reactive UI, uploading, deleting, having a reactive list, adding comments, having inline editing in place as well. And we didn't write a single line of JavaScript. The only thing we needed was to get that in place for action cable. And that was it. So pure Ruby, reactivity, and maintainability. I hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for listening. And now I'm available for Q&A.
Thank you very much, Jonas. And yes, we're going to do Q&A. And there's 2 ways in which you can get your question in. One is the well-hidden but nice raise hand function, where you can open the list of participants, which should be at the bottom of your screen. And when you have it open, there is a 3-dotted button, and you can click on it, and then there's a raise hand button there, which you can use. Alternatively, you can also post your question in the chat, and then either I can ask it or I can ask you to ask it yourself. We don't have as much time for questions though, because we did go over the 3 minutes a bit. So wait a second, let me see. Do we have any raised hands? I don't see raised hands, but I see a question by Mike in the chat. Mike, you want to ask it yourself?
Yes, that was really, really interesting. What my question was can I use things like the async in ERB? Because I'd really love to use like bits of this in an old legacy project, but I don't want to have to change everything to kind of get that live feeling.
So you want to use async in your ERB views? Did I get that
Yeah,
right?
that's the one. Yeah.
So actually, all of our components can be used on ERB views. We created a like a view helper for that. We can show you on our documentation. So just docs.matestack-ui-core. Oops. And so we have a Rails integration chapter here and a lot of descriptions. But at the end, let's have a look. Where is it? There you go. So this is ERB view, and we have a matestack component, and this is actually just yeah. So you create your own component, and there you can place your async things, and you're just referencing that component in your ERB view. So you just create one Ruby class, and that's a matestack component, and then you can use yeah, async and form, and actually everything. The only thing what's not working is transition, because you would need the whole structure to perform dynamic transitions. But everything else, even like forms and async, can be integrated in existing Rails ERB views or Haml or Slim.